Good evening. It is now 6:01 and welcome to the Community Development Committee meeting. I'm the Chair, Louis Washington. Today's meeting is being recorded and will be available via the city's website. Thank you for joining us. I'll start with a roll call. I'll note I am remote today. I am calling in from Zoom. So roll call. I'll need a little bit of help with this, but I thought I saw Councilmember Johnson, Councilmember Murphy, City Attorney Burke. I believe I see Mr. Mayor there, City Administrator Chambliss, and I'm pretty sure Director Davis.
I think you've got it.
Okay, well, that's pretty good being remote with a really small screen here. Thank you. Um, okay, so it looks like everyone's here tonight. Thank you. We now move to our first item of regular business, which is to approve the agenda. Are there any questions or comments concerning the agenda?
Nope.
Okay, if not, then we'll consider them approved, consider it approved. At this time, we will provide time for residents to provide a public comment. And I do not have line of sight there. Are there residents wanting to make a comment?
No one's coming forward.
Okay. Thank you so much, Councilmember Johnson. Okay, now we move to our next agenda item, which is approval of the minutes dated February 2nd. Are there any questions or comments regarding the minutes from February 2nd?
Nope. None.
Okay. Then we will consider the minutes adopted or approved and adopted. Okay. So next on the agenda is, sorry, I'm kind of toggling between screens here, is a discussion item concerning community development priorities. And at this point in time, I believe I'm going to turn over the meeting to Director Davis.
Thank you very much, Chair Washington. Jeez, it's very loud. And good evening, Mayor and Council. So I'm going to share my screen here really quick. Where's my PowerPoint? Oh, you're right. Thank you. Okay, can everybody see that? Can you see that, Chair Washington?
Yes, I can see it, Director Davis.
Okay, great. So I've actually just listed the priorities that we discussed at the last meeting and maybe meetings ahead of that, that we need to just spend a little time this evening going through, further refining, putting in order, trying to prioritize what matters the most to the CD committee. And so I've got them listed in no particular order tonight. And I'd just like to be able to go through and have a discussion about these and try to figure out what order to put them in.
Okay. So if I'm understanding you correctly, Director Davis, these are in no particular order, but you are looking for some clarity tonight and direction and creating kind of an order that kind of most urgent to least urgent, if you will.
Yes.
Okay. And again, my screen is going to be really, really small tonight because we have the presentation here. So I'm going to need some help there on ground on who's raising their hand.
Okay, I can start going through just some of these and just adding some clarifying points.
Please.
So the first bullet is rezoning. So that's basically updating our zoning map and rezoning the area on the ridge that is entirely zone mixed use to reflect what the built out developments entail. So really the first and second, well, in your packet material, I gave you a memo and those are kind of combined in the first bullet, but zoning of the ridge and updating the zoning map as part of the comprehensive plan amendment. As you recall, we had a conditional certification we agreed to with PSRC last November. And we need to update our zoning map and then update our housing and land use elements to reflect the new buildable lands analysis after our growth targets were reconciled. So that's one of the things that we've got.
Chair Washington.
Chair Washington.
Oh, thank you. Director, so I know that obviously the zoning of the ridge, that is going to be a pretty heavy lift. I know we don't want to get into every single detail. We don't want to get too granular, but just so that I think maybe those who are watching have an idea of the process that includes, could you kind of speak to it a little bit? I know it's, a pretty large process, but are you willing to maybe speak to it a little bit of what's all included there?
Sure. Well, we would likely have to contract with a land use consultant that would come in and have numerous public meetings to go over the various zones that we have now, what zones are appropriate from the built-out environment. We'd have to update some of our studies that are in our housing and land use elements. And I mean, that would be a pretty rigorous process, go through the Planning Commission, bring it to CD committee and then city council. And we would have to, or we should get that done this year.
Yeah,
Councilman?
just kind of with, oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, please.
I think there's a follow-up.
Mhm.
Councilmember Washington.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up to that. So sounds like it, again, there quite a few elements there that we'd have to tackle. Just in terms of time, are we looking at, going back to the Planning Commission, are we looking at 4+ months, 5+ months approximately, Director?
It's really hard to tell. I'm not really sure how much time that will entail. So I really don't have a good answer for us at this point.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
I might defer to the mayor.
Chair Washington.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
So one of the things I want to be cautious about tonight is not setting expectations where they shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
This list, we do not have staff to do this list.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know how to answer questions like how long will item A or B or D take, because we haven't done the work to find that out because we don't have the staff. So what we're trying to engage, so tonight, we don't have any answers for you. As you all know, we are currently hiring for an associate planner, and we're looking at possibly coming back to you let me back up. We're looking at hiring an associate planner, a position that the council has approved and funded. And we're also looking at another position that, filling another position that you have also approved and funded late last year. We've got to come back and talk to you about when and how we would do that. And we're looking at, of all the things that are on the plate, things that, as the mayor, I'm putting on the plate of community development, and things that you, the council, would like to see also happen in our community development department. So we're trying to put all that together and figure out, okay, how do we get that done? What kind of resources do we have? Some of that may be coming back, doing enough work to come back to you and say, okay, here's how much resource that would take, this item, that item, and so forth. And then together sort of come up with, okay, how much resources are we able and willing to devote? And then that'll determine what we can do. What we're trying to do tonight is find out what is the community development committee's priorities. So we know, because as I sort of quipped at your meeting 2 weeks ago, this list that's on the screen, If you give us 15 planners, we might have a shot at it. But we all know that we don't have the resources for that. So what we're trying to do is sort of zoom in here on what's the prioritization of these items that you have as the council committee. Which ones do you want us to tackle first? Which are most important to you? Then we're going to go answer exactly the questions you're asking, which is, okay, starting with the ones that are top priority. What resource do we need? How long will that take? What is that going to entail? We absolutely want to bring you those answers. We do not have them tonight. We also want to know for each of these items, it may be that in order for you to decide how to prioritize them, you need more information. So we want to find out which items do you need more information on? Would you like more information on? And what is that information? So we can take that away and try to get that for you to help you complete your prioritization process. So we're really looking for how to kind of work together with you to find a list, a prioritized list, the information you need to decide, and then talk about resources with you, and then go execute. So that's where we're sort of trying to go. And tonight we're hoping that you can help us with prioritizing this list and telling us what other information you need in order to complete that prioritization process.
Thank you, Mayor.
Chair,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, because this is quite a list, and trying to prioritize is hard when all of these we could spend the next year talking about what we even mean by each one of these. For example, on the zoning stuff, which I think I would support generally consolidating that, and that if we're going to zone the ridge, we should just look at all the, because the rest of it is 10% of the city, and it's an opportunity for us to rethink some of our zoning. Now, I grew up with Sim City, and when you're planning out your cities, what you do is you drag these big different colored boxes, and they're all different shapes. It's known as Euclidean zoning, where each area is just like a one use-ish. I mean, there are a few little details in there, but you have your industrial, you have your residential, etc. And a lot of that is kind of going by the wayside in modern city planning, where there are versions of mixed use, but a little bit better defined than just having one big area that's just called mixed use. But there are form-based codes and things like that that I think that we should look at in that process, which does complicate things. I don't think that we would be well served by using the methodologies of the past that created all kinds of problems like exclusionary zoning and those sorts of things. So anyway, yeah, I do think that the zoning is, as I've said many times, it is a priority for me, but I would be looking at some of the lower hanging fruit in the near term, and maybe using this budget cycle to figure out, okay, how do we make sure that CD has the resources moving forward so that we could tackle some of these bigger things? Because if the thing that we put as number one, if we decide it's the zoning, that is it. That is what we will do this year. That takes up that amount of work would take up CD's bandwidth. Yeah, thanks for the word. So yeah, that's kind of my feeling on the zoning, is that yes, it is a high priority for me, but perhaps it's something that we're not ready for yet in terms of the resources for CD. Something that perhaps could be a little bit more attainable. We'll of course get into this list here in more detail, but just as an example of something that might be a little bit more attainable in the near term would be looking for incentives to retain and maintain existing affordable housing. So, that's probably something that's a toolkit that's a little bit more of a grab bag that we could look at. And that's something that I think staff could probably look into that would be more within our bandwidth. So I look forward to hearing other thoughts from the committee, but that's my first take.
Chair, this is Councilmember Murphy.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, to underline and kind of build upon what Councilmember Johnson said, I think, as you mentioned, what additional data points might we need? I think one thing that comes to my mind is, what is the state requiring us to do? And are we on track to do those things? And if not, what's the plan to close that gap, right? I think that to me will help us better, whether we have issues with those or not, that will certainly influence what we have to do. So I think that's a factor in terms of like, what are the things that we're on the hook to do, whether it be from a planning perspective, from an affordable housing perspective. So that's one kind of element and a data point that I think will help us streamline this. From my perspective, I see like two main areas of interest. I think zoning is the foundation upon which some of the other elements rests. So housing, infill, the business park, all of these things I think rest upon the soundness of our code and our zoning and our updated zoning map. So I think as I'm thinking about things that give us bang for our buck, things that can help accelerate other projects, I would say zoning would be kind of at the top of that list that could help streamline and make some of these other things possible. It's hard to envision some of these things happening without at least a relook and an overhaul of some elements of our zoning map. So that's one piece. But then I think about what are we and can we be delivering to our residents and meeting the moment. So I think housing and affordable housing, I think has to be that second bucket from my perspective. So we have zoning and then we have housing and affordable housing. And obviously we have a state element and state requirements and a component there. But to me, it's maintaining, building new housing. And I think this is one that I think as we discussed last time, like we have some more homework to do as it relates to bringing experts in or just getting a better sense as to what our options are within the land that we have. But again, I think that also rests upon, in some respects, some of the zoning, right? If we're looking at infill and things like that. So those are my kind of 2 or 3 things to think about as we're kind of kicking off how to make sense of this daunting list. Because I think it's 1 or 2 things is probably feasible, and even then, I think we have to then look at, as Councilmember Johnson mentioned, the staffing against that, because without the staffing, again, it's just a list on the page.
Chair.
Yes.
I think your hand was up first.
Yeah. So I just want to, the mayor Mr. Mayor there really read my mind kind of going through this. And I mean, the really underpinning here is resources. I mean, this is a very comprehensive list. I think it's all important. Now, I reserve my right for any judgment on what takes priority until we kind of walk through this and sort out some of the concepts. But I don't want to shy away. And I know tonight's not the night, but just as we progressively go through this, I don't want to shy away from having that conversation either on resources and what it would take to potentially complete some of this work, knowing that we have a very small CD department right now. So I'll just put that point out there.
Chair.
Please.
Councilmember Johnson. So I absolutely hear what Councilmember Murphy is talking about with regard to kind of putting the cart before the horse. If we went ahead and picked out a few of these things that are going to depend on the zoning, and then we did them, and then we go, oh, oopsie, that would certainly be an issue. We have to go back and fix it. And what I imagine is kind of meeting this moment is trying to do the job right rather than trying to do the job fast. There could be minimum requirements that we have to do from the state, and we do need to meet those, of course. So if there's something on this list that's the state needs us to do this within the next year, it's like, okay, cool. I guess that floats to the top. But yeah, making sure that we have all of our ducks lined up to do this work correctly, I think is a high priority for me. And perhaps perhaps getting ready to do this stuff is a new bullet point. Figuring out how to get CD the resources they need to do a proper zoning, rezoning, and then figure out how to support our housing requirements and to support the current housing we have, et cetera, within that framework. I do still think that perhaps there are a few things on here that while we are building up to that we could still get to that don't themselves require us to have the zoning in place first. For example, the retaining our existing affordable housing is something that I find it hard to imagine that we would try to zone out any existing workforce housing that's already there, or other forms of affordable housing. So perhaps that's something we could say, it's unlikely that we're going to support something that already exists for affordable housing and then just get rid of it in the zoning map when we're already hurting so much. That would be a massive step in the wrong direction on that issue. So again, I kind of say that might be something that in the short term we could look into as we are building up to what we need to do this process correctly over the next, based on my experience so far, assuming that the zoning would be a substantial process that would take a substantial amount of time and energy and resources.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnson.
Mayor has his hand up.
Mr. Mayor, yes.
Yeah, so two things I'm hoping we can get your guidance on. The first is I just want to point out we're losing affordable housing in this city as we speak, and it's not because of zoning. So if you think that zoning will stop us from losing housing, and let me be clear, there is additional affordable housing that is at risk right now of us losing, and zoning isn't the problem. So if you want to focus on that, it's far beyond zoning, just so that you're aware. The second thing is, and maybe we could have community development director speak to this, is I think the second bullet on the list is something that I know she's very concerned about, and maybe you could go back over that concern. Zoning is a part of that, but it's bigger than that. And maybe you could just talk about what that is, and then talk about why you're so worried about that, what the penalty that we're sort of facing could be. Maybe you could talk about that if that's okay.
Certainly. So we did receive a conditional certification letter from PSRC last fall. We brought that before the council and passed a resolution that the council agreed that we would go in and update our zoning map and go through our buildable lands analysis and update all of our growth targets again after our reconciliation, which requires going back and revisiting our housing and our land use elements, taking those elements through to the King County Housing Committee, getting their buy-off, and then ultimately passing a comprehensive plan amendment with the city council. So that is a big lift at this point in time. I'm watching the clock count down. That's a lot of work to do and to get on people's calendars and get in, I don't know what the King County Housing Committee's timelines are at this point, what they need from us, but we only have so many meetings in a year, and I want to make sure that we can get that completed, because we did agree to have that done by the end of the year in order to receive full certification on our comp plan, which affects our ability to obtain state grant funding for our capital improvement projects. So I know that's a very important element to Public Works to make sure we have that.
But if I could just share, so I meet with Director Davis every few days, and she starts each meeting by saying, happy to talk about whatever you want, but could I just remind you about the comprehensive plan amendments? She thinks it's critically important to us that we realize the significance of this and the amount of work that it represents. So she's happy to talk about other things with me, and that's good. And by the way, just to make clear, the things that her department has to deal with are much beyond what you see on this list. So, we go through code enforcement. Anyway, I won't go through the whole list, but there's things we talk about, constantly, but she does keep at every meeting emphasizing the importance of this second bullet.
Sure.
Yes. Is there another hand?
Yeah, Councilman Johnson.
Councilmember Johnson, please.
So Thank you for that, and that does certainly help to understand a little bit more about what we really need to get done from more like we got to do it perspective.
Mhm.
So I'm curious if there is a timestamp on that. There was some confusion over the climate element and when exactly that was due. For don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but but there was some confusion around that, and I'm wondering, is there any sort of a timestamp on the comprehensive plan amendments from PSRC that we have to get that done this year or by 2029 or yeah.
So the work that PSRC has given us conditional certification on is due by the end of 2026. The climate element update is not due until 2029. We did receive some grant funding on that. We used part of it to get as far as we did through trying to draft some goals and policies. And then our grant ended. And so from what I've heard from Commerce, they will hopefully bank that funding, and we will be able to reapply to use the rest of it in 2028 to finish our climate element by its due date.
So then follow up. Then with the update to the zoning map, is the intent there essentially that's the zoning thing, and we actually are limited to we got to get the entire zoning done this year.
That is part of PSRC's request for the certification, yes.
And it sounds like we're out of time to get resources for CD.
What do you mean?
What I mean is that the zoning is a huge lift, and that would take up a substantial amount of the bandwidth of the community development department to do that. And if we are supposed to do that this year, then we need a plan to get the resources to CD that they need to get that done. Then, Mayor has his hand up.
Mr. Mayor, yes.
Yes, it will. I don't know that we're out of time. We're still February. December's still 10 months away. But yes, every day we notice that another day seems to have fallen off the calendar, and we have 1 day left, 1 day less left. So, but we're in the process of, to be clear, the council has authorized additional resources. We are hiring for them. What was our count today on the number of applications that we received for the associate planner position?
I think Kim said 57.
57 applications. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to find a suitable candidate in there. By the way, looking through 57 resumes, doing interviews, takes a whole bunch of resources. So, but I just want to make this point. It will take a substantial amount of the resources that you've already authorized us to get, we're in the process of getting, and a lot more, to be clear, and a lot more. We will have to bring in outside firms to assist us in getting this done, and that will cost money. We'll be coming back to you with that as we're able to get the resources to go find out that information. So you see, we're kind of, and maybe this is what you were alluding to, is the notion that we're kind of balled up in just getting to knowing what we have to do, but we are pushing very hard, and you have been supportive, you, the council, and we intend to come back and tell you what else we need. But you're absolutely right. It is a big part of the resources we currently have, or that you've currently authorized. Now, if there's other things, then we can come back and say, okay, that would take this additional amount of resources, and that's what we're trying to put you in a position. And you may have to tell us no, but then you would know that you had made that choice on your prioritization list. So that's what we're trying to work with you to do. Not wait until we have the resources to then come and tell you, but actually try and engage as much as we can right now on prioritizing and then getting the information and getting the resources, et cetera. Yeah.
Chair, this is Councilmember Murphy.
Yes, I'll just make a quick comment and I'll give you the floor, Councilmember Murphy. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for painting some color there to kind of, because I had some questions, but you answered all of them. My question on the conditional certification, so kind of, it's due at the end of this year, is it in essence that we just have to have our proposal to them by the end of the year, or does it have to be proposal and approved by the end of the year?
The comp plan amendment has to be adopted by the council by the end of the year.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Murphy, do you have a comment?
Yeah, no, I think actually that was that clarification was one that I had. I think as I'm just thinking about this and thinking about kind of what's here, taking the mayor's comment to heart, looking at obviously the requirements we have to PSRC, but then also, we have to think creatively around some of the housing that we're losing. And having heard from residents and some folks in the community on this is like slowly becoming, I don't even think slowly, this is a major issue right now. And I think part of our work as a committee will be to, I think, guide CD department in thinking about how we can be creative in terms of like retaining and incentivizing the affordable housing that we have. Much less obviously some of the net new affordable housing that obviously the foundation for which is within some of the comp plan amendments that are going to PSRC and the long workflow that we talked about. So as we're thinking about some of the other, like this long list, is that retention of affordable housing, and from my perspective, really like rises to the top after we talk about the comp plan amendments and some of the PSRC stuff, which, talks about our, long-term affordable housing posture kind of going forward. How do we retain what we have is of paramount importance to me. More so than I think anything else on this list. Reserving the right to think about this a little bit more, but it's definitely like top of mind at this moment.
Mayor has his hand
up. Mr. Mayor, please.
Yeah, if I could just make a quick comment on creating new affordable housing. We've decided we made a mistake on this slide. We should have numbered them instead of dots. So we could refer to number 5 and number 3 and so on. Anyway, number 5, the 5th bullet, which is creating new affordable housing. Just want to remind the committee that we have a development agreement with a developer who's going to put in a significant number of housing units, including a significant portion of them that are affordable. And so that project, we have that development agreement. It's happening. They're moving through their process. We continue to meet with them and try to find out how can we help them keep their project moving forward. And so, as we hear from them, things that we might need to do to help or might be able to do to help, we'll bring that to you in the spirit of item number 5.
Chair.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Okay.
Am I to understand that we do not have, nor are at this moment actively looking yet for a consultant to help us with zoning?
I have not started that process yet.
Okay. Yeah, that was supposed to be, that was what I expected the answer to be. Okay. So the reason that I again said that we are quote unquote out of time is because the wheels of government move pretty slowly. And it's necessarily so in that if we move really fast, we just pull out a map and we start drawing boxes around things or whatever, without having gone through a very thoughtful, reflective process involving the public and et cetera, the consequences could be dire. So there's a reason why things move slowly. When I'm thinking about what needs to happen to get that done by the end of the year, I'm imagining, we have a CD meeting where we talk about the contract. It's possible that when we're evaluating the folks who are applying for that, it's a little bit of a tough decision for whatever reason. Maybe we're not done in one committee meeting before we make a recommendation to council, or the council itself deliberates for some time, and that can be a process. So yeah, I don't have a solution. I'm just really pointing out that issue that things can move slowly sometimes.
If I could, Chair?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, welcome to our life. This is something that we are really looking for to team with you, the council, on, is understanding, we had time to prepare for this discussion. And I'll just say the first time we go through this discussion, it was a much less measured presentation. It had more of an element of concern, urgency. And oh my gosh, how do we get from here to there? We're thinking about it every day, and appreciate you kind of with us, and do understand that you take a 40-hour week. Just preparing for this meeting takes a bunch of those hours. Just not suggesting we shouldn't have this meeting, but just understand all the things that pile up. You council members will all recall an executive session item that we had at the last council meeting, which requires CD director's time. So you're aware of many of the things that are going on, and there's code, and well, I won't go through the list, but there's so much. And look, it means a lot to our team that's on the ground doing this work when you guys acknowledge that, and they can see that you see the challenge, and that you're behind us and trying to get there, and that you recognize we're moving as fast as we can. And so I guess I just want to say thank you for your comments, because it does help kind of keep people sane as they go through their very, very busy days right now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Chair. This is,
Yeah,
Councilmember.
yes, Councilmember Murphy, please.
Yeah, I think, like, to echo that and to echo kind of what I've heard here, I'd rather us do like one or two things really well than like 10 things like not that well, or 10 things where we feel stretched, right? And right now, I feel like even the one or two things feel like a stretch at this point from like a resourcing and a timing perspective. And I think, like, I don't know, as one council member here and can't speak for the others, like, I hope that we can work together to make sure that we can get those one or two things that we've talked about in the comp plan amendments seem like perhaps that's one of those, and just knock those out of the park. And then some of the rest of these things like can just fall off altogether, and we worry about them next year. And I think from my perspective, like, wanting to make sure that we're delivering something for our residents in the realm of affordable housing, whether that's new housing and through a development agreement that the mayor discussed, or it's solutions for which we can help retain housing, or anything like that. So yeah, wanting to be hyper-focused, and I'm in alignment with some of what's been discussed regarding that.
Chair, if I could.
Yes, please, Director
I
Davis.
just also wanted to clarify that some of these things that are on this list will likely be talked about as we go through the housing and the land use elements, and they could lead goals and policies that we would implement in the future. So it doesn't mean that they're completely forgotten.
So I just have a quick question for the administration. So I'm looking kind of the last bullet from the bottom there, second bullet from the bottom. Code amendments to support comprehensive plan updates. Is that something that could be done in tandem with the conditional certification as we kind of go through that in the zoning map, or is that going to be something that's more or less standalone item?
The code amendments typically happen after the comprehensive plan is updated. So
Okay.
once we have the comp plan updated, then we will, and I would strongly suggest that we think about auditing our code so that we can know where the discrepancies lie in our code and what we need to correct in order to meet the goals and the policies of the comp plan.
Okay. So Director, that would be something that would happen after the comprehensive plan amendments. We could go in and audit the current codes and then at that point refine things. I see you have their wireless, historical preservation, enforcement, et cetera, et cetera. So, okay.
Yes.
Chair.
Is that Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Okay, please.
So what I feel like it sounds like we're kind of circling around is the idea that the zoning is actually a high enough priority because of the conditional certification that that's something that more or less we got to do. And then the other thing that as we're working on that perhaps we could work on with regard to affordable housing in the near term is the retaining and maintaining the existable affordable housing stock. I did want to, and if we're on agreement there, then I think that might help the administration to achieve their goal for tonight with this list, because I'm aware of a couple of issues that that our local businesses have been running into. There are a couple of other things that I just wanted to mention. Oh, not only our businesses, but residents as well. That I wanted to actually add to the list, even though we're probably not going to get to them this year, but that I'd like them to be kind of on our CD list. The first one is parking minimums. That is one of those things, kind of like Euclidean zoning, that is somewhat on the way out. There are certain types of land uses where I think it could make a lot of sense for us to keep parking minimums for as long as the state allows us to, but there are other kinds of land uses that I don't think it makes sense anymore. A lot of parking minimums are designed for making sure that you have the maximum parking for, say, a business on the one day of the year where they have the most traffic, even though usually they only have like 10% of that. So that doesn't really make sense from a land use perspective, that we would use so much of our land for cars that are not currently in use. So that's one thing. And then another thing is also related to parking, actually, is using parking spaces for retail purposes or for restaurant use, such that they could expand and have a little deck out there. There are lots of cities that do that, and they make for really attractive spots for folks visiting those establishments. So that'd be really nice to actually have something in our code related to that. My understanding is that during COVID, there was some looking the other way of sorts, as businesses were looking for ways to try to maximize the amount of traffic that they were getting. But that my understanding is that our code doesn't have any sort of process or regulations around that type of use of that space. So anyway, a couple of things to add to the list that we may or may not get to this year, probably on the less likely. Mayor has his hand up.
Mr. Mayor?
Okay, so we've captured those two items. Thank you. It's possible that we can use some other departments to make a little bit of progress on some of that as well. So we'll be looking for ways to do that. So what I'm hoping we could do tonight, the takeaways that I have, I think I hear a consensus here amongst the committee. They'd like us to focus on, sorry, they don't have numbers on the first bullet, the second bullet, and the sixth bullet in particular. And what I'd propose is that we bring this list back to you once a quarter, just to revisit it with you, so that we're not losing sight of it. We'll add those two items and we can kind of just do a check-in as we go, as we're working on those items, if that'd be okay with the committee. And then we'll get to work on 1, 2, and 6 and look forward to bringing as much as we can, as fast as we can, understanding that it's not going to be real fast out of the gate, but hopefully we'll build up steam as we get resources deployed and talk to you about additional resources and so forth. Would that be okay with the committee?
Makes sense to me.
I agree.
Well, I think we should go forward with that plan. So items 1, 2, and sorry, just wanted to kind of circle back to this. So bullet point one and two, they're kind of related. I mean, in essence, it's because if we're doing the comprehensive plan amendments for the conditional certification, that really is going to include zoning of the ridge. Is that correct, administration?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure I have that correct. Okay.
For what it's worth, we tried to capture your list from last week and not edit it. We thought maybe since it's your list, you could choose to edit it, but we just want to report back. But yeah, we see it the same way.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
By the way, I'm going to take that as permission to combine those two items.
That's fine with me. What about the other two committee members?
I'm in agreement.
Yeah, that's good.
Chair,
Yes, Councilmember Johnson.
this might be, even though I feel like it's a high level question, maybe this is even too far into the weeds. In terms of starting with the zoning process, are there requirements that it kind of goes to the planning commission sort of blind as like, here's the map and we're going to work through it? Or can the council give some level of input as to generally what we're looking for?
Yes, the council can give input.
Prior to them getting into it too far. Obviously not giving them, here, approve this and then give it back to us, but yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Just a question for the administration. When we kind of think of the general public and the residents here in Snoqualmie, what kind of input, what will we do? I mean, are we talking town halls or, invite people in to potentially take a look at a zoning map, or what are some things that we've done in the past for residents?
Chair?
Yes. Mr. Mayor, yes.
Those are very excellent questions, and we will look to get you answers on those.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, obviously this is a big thing, and we'll, a whole process. We'll be coming to you with all that.
Chair, if I may.
Yes, Councilmember Johnson, I believe.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, probably don't need to say this, but making something as important as zoning as public as reasonably possible would probably be a good idea, or we're going to get a lot of very angry people here, mostly because they won't know what we were doing. So yeah, trying to make that as public as possible would probably be a good idea to make this process move more smoothly.
I would say that it would be on the consultant to bring us like a plan.
Yeah.
That the council would buy into and agree to, and that plan would include various public meetings and how they intended to capture the public. I mean, we'll probably go to some special events. I'm thinking maybe early in the summer, so we can kind of get some of this rolling and do our best to get public feedback early in the spring, summer.
I think that's an excellent idea, Director Davis. So, are there any further comments or questions as related to the community development priorities list? I think administration, in essence, has their marching orders, and they're going to come back to us in the next meeting. So I'm fine with that. Just in terms of the items for future discussion, I think we did dive into the zoning update, comprehensive plan amendment. Are there any particular questions or comments as it relates to items 3 and 4?
Chair?
Mr. Mayor, please.
Yeah, those are items for future discussion. Just awareness that those are on the list. We're not prepared to speak to them tonight.
Oh, okay. Okay. So for future discussion, not necessarily tonight. Okay. Okay. I read that the wrong way. I thought maybe it's something we would discuss tonight in getting ready to speak to them in future items, but our future
Our
discussion.
goal here is to try and be transparent with kind of what we're thinking, what we see coming up, and just sort of constantly making you aware of at least where our thoughts are of where we're coming in the future. And then obviously that gives you a chance to say, well, why are you doing that? Or alternatively, but why are you not doing X? So this is a way of just sort of making sure we're all on the same page in terms of what we think is coming down the pike in the near term.
Okay. Thank you for the explanation, Mr. Mayor. Going once, going twice. Any other comments on community development priorities, the list? Okay, with there being no further business to come before this committee, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's 6:51 p.m. and we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.